All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring the Water Resources Board meeting in order for May 27th, 2025. I was told there are no public comment on any actual agenda items today. So we'll go to our consent agenda. There are 7 items on our consent agenda. Does anybody care to discuss any of those individually? So we'll pull them out. If not, we'll entertain a motion.
If not, so moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next are the minutes from April 22nd, 2025. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes of April 22nd of 2025? If there are no additions or corrections, then we'll accept the minutes as presented. Item 4 is consider the Thompson Lane widening estimated easement offers.
Yes. So I apologize for not having this completed on Friday, and that it's so small. Maybe we can increase it a little bit. But so you all know that we've got approximately 80 easements to acquire on Thompson Lane for the CDOT widening project between Memorial and Broad Street. ELI, our engineer, has been working on those easements. We have the permanent easements and received those. And I realized when I got into it that they did not account for any temporary construction easement. And we're outside the road, the easement, the right-of-way is not really wide past the back of the sidewalk. And I felt like that temporary construction easement was needed, especially, it's kind of bad form for the contractor if he doesn't have enough room to get out into somebody's property and there not be an access or, a temporary construction easement there. It just, it warrants the property owner call and complain, and rightfully so. So the color coding there, what we've done is figured out the permanent, let me back up. We have used the tax assessor's values, land values, for these properties to start off with as an initial offer to the property owners, knowing that there may be a few that will not agree with that, and we will have to get appraisals. Normally, TDOT requires you to have appraisals for all of the properties, and then a review appraisal if you are receiving funding from them, which in this case we are, because they are paying $1.75 million towards our water relocations and $1.75 million towards our sewer relocations. But I think that they have decided that we did not have to go through review appraisals and appraisals, which is a plus because that's really a 4 to 6 month process is what legal's told me. So we got permanent easement descriptions. ELI is working on the temporary descriptions right now. We've gotten about half of those. The other half we went through and tried to estimate, even though the descriptions aren't written for the temporary easements. And the ones in yellow, and John, as we scroll down, you'll see the ones in yellow are the ones that we haven't received descriptions from ELI. And those are the ones that we estimated temporary construction easement for. The others we have, the ELI has described, we have the square footage. I was able to put property assessor's values too. And so the blue, kind of the bluish gray color total there that you see is using the property assessor's value for the permanent easement, and then which permanent easement is 50% of the property assessor's value. The temporary, so the far left-hand column is permanent easement using the property assessor's value, and then you see to the right, the bluish gray column, that is temporary. So $460,000 is permanent easement, and 136,000 is temporary. Then the green columns, what I've done is typically we have offered 10% in addition to those permanent and temporary values. We've offered 10% if they voluntary, if they go ahead and sign the easement, we give them a 10% bump. We've done that, I guess, most all projects except for the only project that I remember us not doing because the values were so high was TDOT Salem Highway Phase 2 project. So if you add the temporary and permanent not offering 10% additional, that's 597,000. And then the easements plus the 10% for voluntary conveyance and not having to go into condemnation is 688,000, almost 689,000. I wanted to go ahead and bring this, even though we didn't have all of them, because there are so many. Legal felt like, and I feel like too, that we needed to get started, at least on the ones that we have this month, sending out the offers to those property owners and trying to start on the easements. We've got to start somewhere, and we might as well start with the first half. And sending those out because TDOT plans to advertise and bid this fall. So that only gives us several months to get all of these easements.
The total plus 10, that's not 10% though, is it?
10%, yes. Total plus 10%.
10%.
Did it not do, my formula didn't do right? It may not have. Actually, I forgot, I'm glad you pointed that out. 10%, but on some of them, they were such small, like if you see, some of them were less than 1,000, so I went through and bumped up the temporary easement offer to be a minimum of 1,000. Now I can back that down, but we are getting temporary easement, and some of them were as small as, you can see the one from the bottom in the second blue column, $7.71 for the temporary easement. Now that's the lowest one that I have seen, but I did felt like that it would be good to offer a minimum amount, and
Have we done that before?
we have done that before. We have done that before, so yeah, forgotten that I had done that. But,
And
so
how many
yes.
are there?
Well, on this table right now, there are 81. There's 257 rows, but there's 81 total right now. And like
Almost 81 that you want to
easements.
do today.
No, there's about half of those is what we want to go ahead and get started on. The ones that are not highlighted in yellow are the ones that we would like to go ahead and get started on and get approval for.
So all those in the blue, excluding the yellows,
We have received temporary
you want
easement.
to go forward with those?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I wanted to go ahead and give you a bigger picture of what the overall easement acquisition
So there's
looks like.
257 rows here,
Mhm.
is that right?
Mhm.
Is that how many parcels there are?
There's not, there's about, fly back over there, John. We have track numbers. Actually, those are not the rows. Those are track numbers. If you'll scroll to the top, I think those are track numbers and not rows of the Excel spreadsheet. Yep, those are track numbers. So you can see that we don't have easement on every track. And the track numbers correspond with TDOT track numbers, and they have numbered the tracks, every track along that route between Broad and Memorial. Now this, similar to the construction, would come from our working capital reserves. Now, if you would rather, so it would be, right now, this is a picture of all of the easements, an estimate of all of all of the easements will cost us. I was planning to bring it back to you all next month when they finish the other half and give you a clearer picture. But I wanted to go ahead and be able to get started on the ones that we had now. I wish I had just totaled what those were. I did not. If you went half, it'd be, what, half, if you went the 10% with the 10% minimum, it would be 300.
So are we trying to approve 688,000?
I would like to go ahead and get us started and would bring that back and refine it, but if you would rather, we can just approve, the half that we've got up to now.
I think I'd rather go ahead and approve all of it since we've done this in the past.
Yeah,
So this is
and we have
nothing
to do
different. Yeah, we have to do it. And they're getting a jump on it right now, so let's go ahead and approve it all.
And
Could
then I
we-
can bring it
yeah.
back to the
I'll make
board.
a motion. I'll make a motion to approve.
Got a motion?
Okay.
Got a second? Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on page 38 is LGA, that's Little John, isn't it?
No, it's just LJA.
Okay. LJA Sewer Assessment Management Plan Task Order Amendment Number 1.
Yeah, asset management plan, we, just to let you all know, the asset management plan, they are complete. Travis has a PowerPoint, just kind of a presentation for you all to see what our money's paid for as far as an asset management plan for sewer. You remember we had to have the asset management plan was required in order to receive our last 20% of ARPA money. And actually the ARPA grant management task order was in consent. And I put it in consent just because they were reducing, they didn't use the amount of money. In fact, they had left over about 67,000 out of the grant management task order that we had. And so we are asking to move forward with implementing the asset management plan and being able to keep it up to date. And what we would like, and what this asset management plan task order amendment is for LJA to help our staff figure out how to move forward with keeping this as a working and living document and keeping it updated to where it can help us and not just be, kind of a plan on the shelf. So Travis, you want to?
Sure.
You want to run through, it's kind of got a presentation, and then we'll show you what our dashboard, what they created online for us.
So just as a review and some background, the American Rescue Plan or ARP funds, the city of Murfreesboro received just over $10 million in grant funding with a 30% match. And so we were able to apply that to 3 projects, one of which of the projects were already completed, because the way the money worked is that once the bill was passed in March of 21, you could retroactively go back and apply that money to any project that qualified up to March 2021. And so we had actually budgeted and completed a project prior to when this money actually was received by the city. And so we were actually able to apply that to a project and be reimbursed for one of the 3 projects. The other 2 projects we're in the process of completing. The deadline to complete projects is September of 2026, so we're a year ahead of time. And I think Doug can maybe supply some information on where the reimbursement is. I think we've received up to 90% maybe. Doug, is that correct on the 10 million?
Yes.
has already been paid back through the city. So as part of that, an asset management plan was required for each grantee. And this is all based on just some screenshots you can see from TDEC and EPA. And so they had a set of guidelines that we had to use and follow, which were pretty standard. And so instead of just checking the box, Murfreesboro elected to make sure that this could be used on a daily basis and not just be a check the box exercise and spend money unwisely. And so I think they have a very good product, and we found some things that would be very useful in planning and in implementing operation and maintenance efficiencies moving forward that I'll show you in just a minute. So there are a few things that just in a nutshell, and not to oversimplify it, but this is really oversimplifying an asset management plan states what assets do we own, where are they at, and what condition are they in. And so that sounds very simple, but I'll get into not really the weeds and nuts and bolts of it, but just so you understand, that's really what we were trying to obtain and what the whole premise of an asset management plan is in order to manage assets more efficiently. And so we looked at two things, really. The management aspect is consequence of failure and likelihood of failure. And so the likelihood of failure is based on condition, age of the assets, and consequence of failure is really a function of how critical of an asset is that. Is it a pipe that goes under a railroad that serves half the city, and if that fails, then that prevents you from serving that half the city? And so there's a matrix in the process of scoring each of these assets, which would be manholes, main lines, service lateral connections. Those are all looked at, and those all receive a score that are based on the useful life, the level of service, which tends to relate to the capacity of the customers or the population served, and then the condition, the actual condition of that asset. Is it deteriorated or is it in good condition? How many years of use is that in? And so all of those things go into the scoring of the likelihood of failure and the consequence of failure. Populations served, is it create compliance issues? Are there environmental concerns that would come of that? So there's a lot of things that go into the scoring. And just to give you some idea of how this is not very simple, the assets that Murfreesboro Water Resources owns, they own 47,536 service lateral connections. They own 17,903 gravity mains, or 3.6 million linear feet of pipe, almost 18,000 manholes, almost 250,000 linear feet of force mains, 46 pump stations, and 19 junction boxes. So this is just the sewer side. So I give kudos to the Murfreesboro O&M department, because this, as you can see, this could be a very daunting task of maintaining, repairing, and making sure that the quality of service is met for all the customers. Alex Barrett, who's here with us today, co-presented in a recent GIS conference and participated in the asset management part of this very heavily, and works with Matt at O&M on a daily basis to ensure that these assets are looked at and are rehabilitated, repaired, and taken care of. And so that was just recently here in Murfreesboro a couple months ago. He and also Karen Carr at the GIS department was heavily involved in that. So there's been a lot of coordination between staff here at Murfreesboro. Just some statistics that I thought would be interesting. The graph on the bottom, you see year installed. So there's assets on the books installed in 1924. So you currently have 541 mainline segments still in service that have been installed between 1924 and 1960. Most of these 1924 segments are downtown. And so you can, this kind of gives you a bird's eye view of when pipes were installed, how many were installed, and just, you know, you can kind of see the trajectory of how the system has grown over a period of decades. And so with that comes a lot of maintenance, since the bulk of the pipes, you know, there's a large number of assets that were installed prior to the 70s. And so many of these assets have a useful life that have already expired. Just because they were installed and have outrun their useful life, a lot of those are still in good shape. The workmanship is still good, but it takes a continual inspection process to ensure that they are still in good shape. And so there's a constant daily effort of inspecting and documenting to make sure that all of those assets that we looked at on the previous screen are taken care of, so that there's no hiccup in service or no compliance issues and whatnot. Part of this, the big effort, is in CCTV inspection. It takes a lot of manpower, a lot of equipment to inspect these, and once the data has been collected, there's a tremendous amount of data that comes with this. Video data, database data, and the management of this data is very daunting and takes a lot of effort and manpower to do that and to keep up with that. You can see there's 86% of the system has been inspected, 30% within the past 5 years, 21% within the 5 to 10 year span, and there's 34% that's older than 10 years. So there's still some segments that have not been inspected, or I'm air quoting that they've been inspected, but they're so old that the data would not even be usable at this point. And so it's a circular cycle that it's a constant effort. Job security. That's great. And so this just a breakdown of the useful life, which is based on age of an asset. And I will say that Murfreesboro does a tremendous job of keeping up with this type of data. But we work with a lot of utilities and a lot of cities, and Murfreesboro is by far above and beyond most all other utilities or cities on data keeping and what they have in the GIS and record keeping, because it's just a tremendous amount of information that is available, which helps plan and make things more efficient. So this is all important, but you know, what does this table tell us? This gives us some good information, but until we can extrapolate that and see where are these segments, and can I make a list of those, and that type of thing, and that's where what Valerie was saying is implementing this on a daily basis, because every week O&M goes out and televises more segments, and so each day that goes by, this is becoming more and more out of date. So the implementation is key, just because it is a cycle. You collect the data, you bring it in, you review it. What do you do with it? You have to integrate it. You have to be able to decipher what it means and what buckets does each data point go into, and then you query that data, analyze it, and then plan for future action depending on what that is, whether that's a repair or a replacement or a checkbox. We'll check it later. So they're all different categories. Now, let me hit this. I'm going to go to a dashboard here. If you can get back to that.
Just exit out.
I'm after the exit button. Escape.
See the cursor?
Yeah, I see it. It's kind of,
There it goes.
So as part of this, we developed a dashboard. This is all the data that has been collected, this manhole data, CCTV data. And so there are widgets here that you can click on, and it actually changes and gives you statistics, so you can zoom in and see where each of those assets are located. So this is the likelihood of failure. In this case, we're looking at 0 to 20% life left, or the likelihood of failure. And so we can see
On 5 manholes, is that right?
that is 651 manholes out of, so that's 3%, 3.68% of the system. Gravity mains, we can look at the same thing. So this is 751 gravity mains, and so they're all color coded with your likelihood of failure. You can do this with any of the assets. If you want to look at consequence of failure, so this is how critical an asset is that. Same thing, manholes, you can look at those, color code, and you can get to another screen. I'll go ahead and show you. I'll let this action be. So if I want to see some action on, let's look at gravity mains that have unserviceable or end of life, significant deterioration, which means they're really going to have a lot of problems. And I'll look at those segments that have no TV or have not been televised in greater than 10 years. And then I'll look and see where those are, and those are all highlighted on the list.
In red?
Yep, so this basin is flow monitoring basins, and this is based on severity from...
So every little squiggly line falls in that category.
That's correct.
Yes.
And so this flow monitoring basin in the most recent ADS report was found to be the highest ranking flow basin. And so now you can see all of the lines inside of that basin that fit into the category that have not been televised in the last 10 years, have significant deterioration or end of life. And then you can export that list out and then create basically a work order list. You can see those that are really in the red. This is a heat map, more or less, so the thicker and the bigger they are. So if you click on a line, then you can get some information from it. So this line is install date circa 1924. These assessments, this is a scoring matrix, so this uses our standard ASTM scoring. So anything with a 5, structural or O&M, so that means there's some really critical defects on that pipe. I can scroll down and see that the likelihood of failure is a 13 out of 15. So it scores really bad. It's 11 out of 17 on consequence of failure, which means it serves a lot of population, or it's at a critical area. So you can see all the red, darker lines are those that fit in those categories. And so you can go and print this out and start making a work order list, which I know that Alex has been in the process of doing since we've presented this website. And they have access to that, so they can use this as a tool. And so the implementation part comes back to, as soon as they get this data in for the next month, then how does this get updated? And so that's part of the implementation of this, and working with their O&M staff and GIS staff to work out an SOP so that this can be implemented and updated on a regular basis internally without anyone else from outside.
Excellent.
And I will add that CityWorks, which we're live on now at O&M, is built to work with asset management plans. They have parts in that software built to allow you to score assets and do things like that. So it's built to work with an asset management plan.
So, we've got this asset management plan, do we share that with anybody else in the city?
Not really.
Would it be,
Uh,
would it be,
I don't know that it would
would it
benefit.
cross over at all, or no?
I don't know that it would benefit.
I know that other
Would it
city
cross
departments are
over?
using CityWorks
Yeah.
asset management, so it's possible that it could benefit some other city departments also.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily
But-
the information in it, but the process of,
Right.
like
The
for
process.
stormwater, we could we could come in and do the same thing if we wanted to, really on the stormwater side. We don't have as robust GIS and historical information in GIS for stormwater as we do for water and sewer, but we can certainly,
So you're looking for a motion to SOP implementation of 67,000?
yeah, well, to amend, so they have the current task order for the asset management plan, but we want to amend it with amendment number 1 and add the 67,000 to what was currently an $85,000 task order for a total of 152.
So you're only asking for 67?
Right now, yes.
Got a motion?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item on page 42, we got Little Johnny, the LGA. again.
Yeah.
This is the sewer rehab project.
Yes, we are ready, finishing up, we have finished the Hobos project pretty much. Hobos rehab project, we are finishing,
For just the stuff we've identified.
right,
We don't know what's down the pipe yet.
right. We're hoping that we've gotten the worst of the worst and that the other will stay at bay, and stay like it is. But we probably will go back and re-televise at some point some of that we didn't put on this project, or that Hobos project list, just to make sure it's staying stable and hasn't changed or gotten worse. But we're finishing up our current regular sewer rehab project, and so we wanted to get LJA designing on the next project. With, operations and maintenance, they're continually putting together rehab pipes that need, and manholes that need to be rehabbed, and so they've gotten all that together and given that information to LJA, and so we're ready for LJA to put that project together and hope to bid it out this summer where we can still have some dry weather this fall.
Yep.
So that task order would be, the request is for $452,500, and it'll come from working capital reserves as well.
And that'll finish up our Hobos?
Well, the Hobos is pretty well finished, right, Travis?
The project with the segments that were included, but there's a lot other segments that were not done. There's several thousand feet of Hobos. We picked out the highest priority, those that were, appeared to be the worst based on the
Okay.
So there were two different projects. There was a Hobos rehab project, and then there was regular sanitary sewer rehab, and both of those are pretty well finishing up. And so we're ready to design our next project.
Okay.
And that's what this task order is for.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
And I got a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the wet weather upgrades, change order number 1.
Yep, so on this one, as they were excavating, they found that some of the soil material needed to be removed, but removing it all would destabilize the current structure. So together, SSR, TTL, and Reeves Young have agreed that the best thing to do in this situation is to redesign it using micropiles. The micropiles will dig a hole into the soil, cast concrete in there, so you can kind of think of it as an underground concrete post. And those will be used to hold up the foundation of the project. This change is going to require a little more time, so we're asking for a change order to change the contract, extend it out 30 more days to allow them to complete this work.
Okay.
The work portion of this will come from contingencies, and it was in our consent agenda. The dollar portion. It does, but the dollar portion
No money,
doesn't
just
change.
days.
Right, the dollar portion doesn't change the contract amount.
Like that.
So moved.
Got a motion?
So,
Got a second? Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is consider SSR's task order amendment and improvements.
Yeah, that would be me. March 2024, we requested to look at replacing the OSGs, but we were directed to look at other cost saving possibilities, and we had SSR look at those for us, and they came up with the solution of the most cost-effective way is to just replace the units themselves. They are going on at 18 years age. Their life expectancy is 15, so we've kept them really in really good shape. Just to show you, the cost of the cells have gone from $50,000 up to $90,000 to replace one of the cells. So as these get older, the parts are becoming more rare and harder to find. Therefore, the prices are being going through the roof. What we're doing here is, what we're asking for is for SSR to help us start looking into replacement of the OSG. There are 3 manufacturers that we'd like to go visit and start investigating which way to go. Right now we use Chlorotech, but there are 2 other systems out there that are available that are just as good that we'd like to investigate with SSR. And that's what this task order change is asking for, is for SSR to assist us in finding a replacement.
$37,910.
$37,900, not to exceed $37,910.
Okay.
This is a critical piece of equipment for the water plant as well.
All right.
so
Got a motion? You got a second? Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now for the star of the show.
Which one is it down there?
the rates, far right. Yeah. All right, so we presented this to you all in April. Why is this not? Okay, maybe I was clicking the wrong side, I think.
You also presented it to the council.
Yes, we did. We actually,
It had gone to.
It's got one reading or what is it?
it's gone before council for the first reading. So if we have any changes or
Okay.
corrections today, there's still time to change before the next reading at council level.
All right.
Oh, this is
Oh,
not going
that's
on.
the right. Guess the mouse is turned backward.
I'm pushing both sides, it's not going. You might have to just push the,
All right.
well, let's
See, we went to slide 6 there.
yeah, something's not working.
This
Might
one.
just have to push the arrow. Try it again. Okay.
Is that where you want to be?
Yep, that's where, that's the second slide, right?
It's saying slide 6 on this side.
Oh, okay, okay. I canceled out some of the slides because I didn't want to go through the whole PowerPoint since y'all hadn't seen it before, so that would be the reason why. This is kind of based on incurring debt up to $120 million for the dryer as well as Cherry Lane. And we can, continue to use our reserves where we can and not go below our 12 months operating expenses, which is approximately $33 million. Our proposed minimum monthly bill increase is 25 cents on the majority of our meters. And that's our 5/8 inch meter, which we have approximately, well, I think it's more than the 26,000 now, maybe that's lower, but you can see from our existing customers at the very bottom table, between our existing customers and our growth with the 25% increase, we're also proposing a commodity charge increase from $3.70 to $3.75. We anticipate added revenue on the water side to be about $330,000.
What did we add last year, though, you know?
What?
What did we add last year? Water revenue, you know, offhand?
It was probably about the same amount, but I think we raised the minimum from 1072 to 11. It was about a 28
It's the
cent
same dollar
increase.
amount.
Yeah.
On the sewer side, you can see minimum monthly increase on the sewer side is again 25 cents for the 5/8 inch meter, and then it kind of goes up there based on your meter size. We do not propose a commodity rate increase on the sewer side. And between existing customers and growth, we anticipate this will bring in around $853,000 of additional revenue. Here is just another table showing our changes in the minimum monthly charge and commodity charge, both on water in the blue and sewer in the green, showing the 25 cents. With anticipated to increase next year, but these will be revised for FY27 and on out. Projected will be revised based on a new cost of service study this year. Let's see. And then this just kind of shows the average combined monthly residential water and sewer bill both, going from $70.23 this year to approximately $71.01 next year. And that was all that I had. So I would request approval of the proposed rates as presented.
All right,
So moved.
Second.
got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is draft water resources budget. The draft.
And we emailed this out. Y'all all read it, right? All 112 pages of it. And that is reduced from last year's book. Okay. All right. So this first slide just represents that we have a balanced budget. Revenues to expenses of $65,228,000. You can see our revenues are on the left-hand column and expenses are on the right, and how those are divided out. Water and sewer revenues. You can see that the sewer revenues are almost double, or right at double, and the majority of that is, the reason is because it's in consolidated, we have sewer customers in consolidated utility districts, water service area. Tap revenue, which are standard fees, came in at $6,250,000, and then you can see on the outgoing side, our expenses, water and sewer are about the same, not too much different there. And then we, at the very top, we have TAP transferring over to a sinking fund of around 11.6 million. This just, you might have remembered this from Darren having it last year at Sankey diagram. It kind of shows how your, that our revenues again are balanced and how our rate revenues are transferred over to our expenses. It's just another way of showing how, what comes in and where it goes. So on our TAP revenues, those go to reserves. You can see we have the special assessments, which are our assessment districts, water taps, sewer taps, future capital expenditures. This is all up in the right-hand corner. Sinking funds. This is just kind of a chart of our expense categories and the percent change from FY25 to 26. All of our expenses have increased. Our transfers to reserves are down a little bit.
Is that the tap fees or the debt?
A lot of that's because our operating expenses are budgeted up, and the difference, we put money into reserves based upon what's left over after our revenues and our expenses. So reserves transfers has gone down a little bit due to our increased operating expenses, increasing more than we're budgeting our revenue to increase. But we're very conservative on expense budgeting. Y'all will see when you look at this month's financials, we're probably close to 10% below where we should be after 10 months on expenses, even though our revenues are right in line. So we're just always very conservative on budgeting expenses. It's a little over $1 million drop, I think, from the budgeted transfer to reserve from 25 to 26.
Anything else? Before I move on?
No.
Okay. This is just kind of historical, showing revenue comparisons from FY23 through our budget this year. Our total revenue budget is to be higher than the FY25 budget, but a little bit less than what is projected for FY25. Our water sales are up 3.5% from last year's budget, and our sewer sales are only 1.2% from last year's budget. Our personnel additions is this chart. A lot of these are for new programs. Come on, look there. On the operations and maintenance side, we're requesting 4 positions there. One position will help start a sewer cleanout crew, and that is to locate, we have sewer cleanouts at the property lines or edges of easements, and that kind of marks the, responsibility between the department and the property owner. We have around, I think, 6,500 cleanouts that need to be located and found. Not having those located to where they're accessible, if we get a stop sewer charge, they have to go out, and it's pretty much an emergency dig for us to try and find that to determine whether it's on our side of the sewer or their side of the sewer service. 2 of those positions are to start a valve exercise program at operations and maintenance. And then one is to assist with the growth in our sewer system, is a foreman to assist Alex, who takes care, Alex Barrett, that we mentioned earlier, who takes care of our vac crews and CCTV crews and keeps them busy. We are requesting 1 part-time engineer position in engineering. We have part-time engineer now. But we are requesting that so it would not fill a vacant engineer's position. And remind me at the end, we have a new engineer that has started with us today. This will be first day today. Water treatment plant, they are requesting one additional person in our cross-connection control program where they test the backflow prevention devices. Those devices have grown to where they need an additional person to help with that. And then in admin, we're kind of wanting to share a position with operations and maintenance subject matter expert for CityWorks software. Operations and maintenance, they are fully really involved in CityWorks, and we had Melissa Rowland left, and we are feeling the side effects from her vacancy, so we want to bring another subject matter expert in on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions? You got some more?
I got a couple,
Okay.
just a couple more, but I'll run through them really quick. This is just a kind of another representation of our reserve expenses and sinking funds. You can see a big chunk of those is from sewer taps and future CIP, and then the other is kind of a sinking fund for Cherry Lane Pump Station and Force Main sewer rehab, our biosolids processing equipment and pump stations. And tap revenue, I'll point out, tap revenue is about 5.8 million. And then last one is kind of just something that you all see on a monthly basis, is a snapshot of our reserves. Right now, our excess reserves are right at 43 million, which goes and takes into consideration keeping the 33.8 million as our minimum reserve financial policy. Our accomplishments, run through those really quick. We have our full-scale biosolids drying operations under construction at the Worth. We've completed the construction of the Salem Barfield Basin sewer interceptor upgrades. Completed the construction of the Hobart sewer rehab project. We have our wet weather capacity improvements at the Worth under construction. We've completed the design of the water sewer repurified water main relocations for Thompson Lane, waiting on TDOT to bid the project. And this, oh, I forgot to move this. This last one was supposed to be a goal, is to create a sanitary sewer assessment district for the Butler Drive area sewer force main extension. Some other goals: complete the design of the Worth Old Headworks building recommissioning. Complete the redesign and design of Cherry Lane phases 2 and 3. The city, I think, is wanting to bid phase 3 out this year. Design, bid, and award the construction of the replacement of Thompson Lane and Battlefield pump stations. And as we mentioned earlier, determine the on-site hypochlorite generation manufacturer at the water plant and design the replacement of that system. Apply and receive, hopefully, our NPDES expanded permit limits and obtain easements for Thompson Lane widening.
Lot to do.
Lot to do.
All right. Any questions for Ballard or on budget?
Request approval of the budget and the resolution that goes along with that.
Got a motion to approve?
Second.
Got a second? Any other discussion?
For the next one.
All those in favor say
Oh,
aye.
aye. Sorry.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is the stormwater budget resolution.
Okay. This one is much shorter, but we do have revenues and balance to expenses at 4.1 million, 4.15 million. Our stormwater fee brings in approximately 3.9 million on the revenue side. some of that is, we have some interest earnings, and then budget expenses, 1 million of it is salary and benefits, and then the general fund services are 1.5. Operating expenses are 700,000, right at 700,000. This is historical revenues versus expenses, and our operating revenues are fairly consistent until this year on the stormwater side, and they are anticipated to increase up about 9% from FY25. And this is the stormwater 5-year CIP. Then the 3 large projects, there's 3 large projects. Town Creek, which is the daylighting of Town Creek, Mall Circle drainage improvements, Mall Circle Drive, that is around the mall, and then Old Fort Park ballpark parking improvements. And you can see that the stormwater, we have, out of those 3 projects, we're going to be spending quite a bit more than what we typically do on stormwater. They usually, out of these projects, if they haven't had funding in the past, they've kind of delayed the project until they had funding. And with this, they anticipate it's going to go below the operating, reserved of 800,000 of what we're supposed to reserve for our operating expenses. You can see this year for those 3 projects, this next year it's going to dip down below the 800,000. And then our accomplishments, so they are increasing, as you all remember probably when Darren spoke, they are wanting to increase the fee per residential unit to $3.50. So with that, I'll go over our accomplishments. Updated the city code to improve the stormwater runoff from development sites and protect our streamside buffers. Hosted annual Trees for Streams event, focused on educating streamside property owners and providing trees for them to plant. Routinely inspect the stormwater control measures and streamside buffers at 100+ active construction sites. We partner with Parks and Rec to catch litter in the Murphy Springs wetland there at the Discovery Center, and hosted our inaugural stormwater and coffee talks with landscapers and property managers that are responsible for stormwater control maintenance. The goals is host biannual stream cleanups in Garrison Creek, hope to launch a drone program for detecting illicit discharges, improve enforcement response program for illicit discharges and stormwater control maintenance, resume cursory biological stream sampling to update our stream quality baseline, and hopefully have a consultant study Todd Lake and create a resource management plan. Okay, I'll ask for...
How bad is Todd's Lake?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. Some of the homeowners, I think, have called the council on the vegetation. Some don't like the vegetation that's growing in there. They think it needs to be cleaned out. We honestly don't know, what the, intended use of that lake is. It's privately owned.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, privately owned.
By the subdivision?
No, it's an individual owner.
It's a
Can't remember the
platted
name.
property?
Um,
It's platted already? I mean, it's got a deed to it?
Well, I'm not sure if, I would assume so, but I don't know for certain.
Okay.
If it's a separate deed. But we're hoping that we are getting under contract with Griggs and Maloney to study to see, what the intended use and best way to manage the lake is.
Yeah, we were told the last council meeting was privately owned, something.
Yeah, Yep.
So we can force them to,
Well, I think a lot of the property owners are wanting the city to maintain the lake, and trying to, I think the city, is Josh in here? Let's see. Hey, Josh. I think the city, Sam Huddleston, I think they did, kind of a pilot project, didn't they, to see what it was gonna take to remove some of the invasive species there?
Yes, and the part of the lake is owned by the city of Murfreesboro. Part of it is a private owner, the downstream section, and then this is the part that the city owns was formerly MTSU property, and I believe it was deeded over to the city. And so the residents would like to, like Valerie mentioned, they would like to see a reduction in the nuisance aquatic vegetation, and that's kind of the reason we're studying, is to see if it's functioning more as a natural wetland, or if it needs some treatment, other practices. So, yeah, part of it is the city's, as far as I know.
Okay.
so can we just go on somebody's property and study it for that purpose?
Well, I don't know that they would access it from the property owner's properties. They
Yeah,
would
we have,
access
there
it
are
right away.
access points, Rutherford Boulevard, I think
Would
there's,
you have to get their approval?
well, I think that, yeah.
But just part of it, right?
yeah, just part of it, and I think that that's where the issues are. And so I think the city had never fully studied the lake when they acquired the property, so there's other issues involved too, like
Okay.
tree management and other things that maybe this one focus on, but
Okay, thank you. All
Any
right.
other questions? If not, we
We
would,
need a motion on the resolution?
yes.
So move.
Got a motion? You get a second? You have a second? Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now is the stormwater fee. Is that right? No, we're done. huh?
Yes. Stormwater fee resolution,
Stormwater fee,
yes.
That's what I thought. Stormwater fee resolution?
Yeah. So I don't, I have the report, but really don't have, you all have seen this, Darren presented it. And he is requesting an increase from up to $3.50, increasing it for 25 cents per month, or $3 per year per resident for the next 2 years. And so there is a resolution that goes along with. The revenue increase of approximately $340,000 is anticipated in FY26 and $350 in FY27, which will assist in going to pay for those 3 projects that we mentioned
Okay.
previously. So we request approval of the stormwater resolution,
All right.
stormwater fee resolution.
Interesting sidebar. The legal determined that for whatever reason, when stormwater was done way back in '07 or whatever, this is the first increase ever for stormwater.
Yeah.
But when it was first set up in the city ordinance done, it was set up to only need a resolution to increase the fee instead of an ordinance, which takes 2 readings.
Yeah.
A resolution just takes 1. But the kicker was you had to run an ad 30 days before it goes to council to pass the resolution. So it was set up different than water's always been. So that was caught and scurried through figuring out what to do and getting the ad run and
Yeah.
all that good stuff, so.
So it will be presented at the June workshop. Yeah,
June
and the
12th.
June 12th workshop
Uh-huh.
meeting,
Which will be 30 days because it was advertised to May 13th.
yes.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got 2 seconds? Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Dashboard, anything, want to go over there, Valerie or Doug?
I did not have any changes to the the CIP portion of the dashboard. So I don't have any changes, really that I need to go over there. I don't know.
Financial wise, we're running a little ahead on revenues and over 10% on expenses year to date. So, and our taps are also running behind, which is another reason I looked. And our taps for next year are budgeted about 200,000 less than what we expect to get to. They're such a function of development. They kind of ebb and flow, but most of that money.
Any special assessment districts at all, like,
We haven't added any. I think the assessment districts they're also running below what we anticipated receiving this year. But again, that's an in and out. It comes in,
Right.
it gets moved to reserves, but then you see the effect of that when reserves budget drops some for next year.
all right, anything else? Got our June meeting coming up?
And Valerie, you said remind you to introduce the new employee.
Yes, thank you. We have a new engineer that started with us, George Reagan. He comes to us from Metro Water Services. So we are glad to have him.
Oh, we're fine with stealing one of theirs, huh?
We've gotten two. Yeah, we've gotten two. David Penley.
Did you live in
is also.
Murfreesboro?
No,
Oh.
I'm still in Davidson County, so, but that might change, we'll see.
Okay.
Just curious, do we pay more?
What's that?
Do we pay more than Davidson County?
Oh, the Metro.
You don't have to answer that. How about that?
I'm kidding. Okay.
We just trying to keep up
Yeah, so,
with the
there's
special.
plenty of money going here, so.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Doug?
The other thing was on our ARP grant, we have filed everything with TDEC that's required as far as asset management plan, all the paperwork, all the money's been spent that needs to be spent, they have everything they need, just a question of how long it takes them to cut us a check. But that grant is gonna be done and complete and on the June 30th books. So.
A good deal. All right. Anything else to be brought before the board? If nothing, we stand adjourned.